Okay, so I want to talk about Blair White. I just watched her watching her fucking haters on TikTok. Jesus. First off, my mother. Thank you, mom, for my face. That's all I got to say. Like, I've had some moments in my life where I thought I looked ugly and I was wrong. Second, uh Blair White. I fucking adore Blair White. I have for quite some time. I've been a fan of Blair White since she started because I've followed all of the trans chicks that have ever been on YouTube ever, pretty much. If you saw my YouTube subscriptions, you would probably notice that there's a trend between a bunch of weird guns and politics and mountain man shit and old western shit and other stuff that I'm into, and then there's like this giant section of trans women. And like this is why like Google probably had a good idea about this before my mom did. But anywho, I've been a fan of Blair White since way back because there were not very many women. Sorry, there were not very many trans women on the internet that were conservative that were talking about their political shit and like had a head on their shoulders and whatever. And when I saw Blair White, I saw a trans woman that I could be. And I like the only reason that I'm alive today is partially because of Buck Angel and partially because of Blair White. Like Buck Angel is a different video. We'll make that video someday. I've talked to him and we're supposed to do an interview at some point. I'm excited about that, but like he has a super busy schedule apparently, so we'll see. Blair White gave me permission to be me. And there's no greater gift that anyone could give than that, I think. And like that's my thing is basically Blair White was doing my channel but without the guns. Like I'm working my way up to that. Like I have my own issues and whatever, and I was 630 pounds when I decided to do this. I was 630 pounds when I decided to live instead of just die, basically. And like the only way that I could live was as a girl. And I knew that. I had known that since way back at that point, like somewhere in middle school, high school, definitely. And like this is the thing, like Blair White talking about how she, knew she was trans at 5, but like not really. Like it was like I knew something was up at 5, and then like came to terms with knowing what the fuck transgenderism is. Yeah, that's pretty much my same journey. Like a little more complicated than that because I had a grandfather that I could not come out as this, and I was going to a high school that I could not come out as this. Literally, had I come out as transgender in high school or just after, I probably would have been committed to an insane asylum. And this is why, like, when I hear Blair White mention some of her shit that she's gone through or whatever, like in that video, she kind of just ran through like 3 or 4 things off the top of her fucking head. And I think that's just the reality of all of us that are like this. Like we've all been through shit. And the thing that I think is funny is that it seems like in our own community, this is a thing to like piss on and shit on each other. Like we're all already going through all of this shit. Why infight and do all this stuff? And I think I know the real reason. And it's like I can tell the trans women that are a part of they and the trans women that aren't. There's 2 types of trans women in the world. There's the super far lefty Democrat ones, and then there's like the libertarian ones. And most of the libertarian ones are a lot more like me and Blair White than they are like anyone else. And the super far lefty ones are somewhere in between my girlfriend Dakota and anyone you've ever seen on the news. I liked my girlfriend Dakota because she was like a mix of the two, really. But she had a healthy scoop of Democrat. And like this is the thing that like really I think sucks about Blair White, the only thing that I hate about you, Blair, if you're watching this, is that you aren't a lesbian. Like, she's one of the hottest trans women on the planet. Like, the fact that she didn't do porn is a miracle and very sad. Just like, I'm not saying that you should have done that or whatever, but like, you should have an OnlyFans, please. Like, like this is the thing about being like I'm not really like a transbient or whatever they call those people. Like, I really like guys and I like going out with guys, but like the love that I have found also is not lesbian relationships, but lesbian relationships with other trans women because we have so much in common. It's like having a sister that you like can do everything with, and like, so like the two girlfriends I've had, we wore the same size shoes, we wore the same size shirts and shit like that. Like, if you're fucking and wearing the same clothes and both girls, you it's a whole different level of closeness. Like, I'm not a lesbian really. Like I said, I'm bi. But God, it's hard not like when you meet someone that you click with that is another girl. Yeah, it's hard to pass that up. It really is. That's the thing I think guys won't ever understand because like every trans woman I've ever been with, like we didn't fuck each other really. Like it's like go watch a lesbian porn video. It's what it looks like. It's the same thing. There's just little dicks involved. You're welcome for that imagery. And like the other thing that I like about Blair White's videos is she has this cool vibe about her. Like she's pretty and she's like doing her makeup and fucking her house is a little perfect thing and what I like it, but it's not very me. I'm kind of like a biker bitch. Like my house is kind of messy. I don't wear makeup because like I sweat while working in the garage and it'll smudge and shit. And reality, like, yeah, I own lipstick and I have a whole case of makeup. I have a whole stripper bag of lingerie too, but like I just I don't do that on the show. Maybe I should. Maybe that's where like the money is or whatever. Hormones have been making me increasingly feminine, and that is fucking nice. Like it's nice to feel like me. It's nice to look like me. At least I feel. Like part of that is like I used to have a giant belly and no boobs, and now I have no belly and giant boobs. Yay, hormones. Just fucking nay. Like basically estrogen is a magic pill that fixes everything that's wrong with me. It's kind of fucking amazing. This was supposed to be about Blair White, but it's hard not to talk about my transition and shit because in reality, the entire time that I was deciding to transition and transitioning, I was watching Blair White. Like, that is the community that I am a part of, if anything. Like, I am not a part of the wider trans community or the LGBT community. Like, I honestly think that it's not like it's dirty or something, but like it's been perverted by like the left. I don't like it. We need our own thing. And like when I see Buck Angel and Blair White, I see people that are like me. And that's not 100% fair to them. They don't have a pirate sword or a tiger, but like, they'll get there eventually. She's working her way up. She just got her AR-15. Like that was the thing that made me, prouder than anything. Really, was when she moved to Texas and bought an AR-15. I was like, well, eventually we're gonna meet. Like, there's no way. Like maybe I'll have to go to Texas to do that, but like, eventually, The two gun-toting trannies in the area must be at the same place at the same time. I think it's really funny is I get shit from trolls on the internet and guys because I'm 6'5". I'm like, how will you ever pass? I'm more feminine than most trans women by a fair margin. Like, not to toot my own horn or whatever, but if you like fat chicks, I am one of the hottest trannies on the planet. That's the asterisk there is you gotta like fat girls. But if you do, boy howdy. And like that's the thing that, you know, I've found is everybody has their preferences and whatever, and there's love for everyone. That's the thing I love about sex and love. That's honestly the thing I love about transition is it's a chance at rebirth and reinventing yourself and a lot of other things. Like it's a holy thing that I think they're perverting and fucking with. And that's in essence a lot of like the message of this channel is it's not like, oh, you should, follow the transgender religion or whatever. But I'm like, this is the fucked up shit that I've gotten worked out for myself on how the universe works and why I'm doing what I'm doing, which basically why I am transgender, I think, is partially because I have Klinefelter's syndrome, and is partially because I had a variety of things happen to me before I was 5, some of which I can't remember and some of which I can. And I was always kind of a Asperger's ADHD kind of kid, and people took advantage. And for one reason or another, I'm more comfortable now like this. Now, does one thing have to do with the other? No, to be honest, I don't think it does. I think I would have ended up dressed like a girl either way. I think I happen to have been raped a lot or whatever, sexually abused, because that's not, being entirely fair. I don't think I was ever raped. I was molested and sexually assaulted and shit like that. A little bit of a different thing, I think. It's a fine line, but I would like to make that distinction. And basically, I think that I was raped or molested or whatever because of the same reason that I'm an attractive transgender woman now to some men. I think it's one of those things that there are people that are sexually attracted to this. And especially being Klinefelters, like I was a very feminine boy. Okay, like it's one of those things that like the only reason I was giant was because of the Klinefelters, I think, and like genetics. Like I have genetics on my side with that. I think that's like my dad had it to a lesser degree. I don't know, but it's kind of as a result of all of that shit that like I guess I'm a little bit of a different transgender woman than most. Um, I barely started hormones, and I'm 32 now. I started hormones last year, and like that was rough. And I think I am the one that should probably make videos on when people should get hormones because I have definite opinions from not getting them. And it's one of those things that I think if person is dealing with this the way that I was when I was dealing with it, somewhere in late middle school, early high school, they should be able to make their own decisions. And that's one of those things that, like, I don't give a fuck if you say that the age of sexual maturity is 18 or not. The age of, like, puberty is fucking 12 or 13 or whatever, and that's when this matters. And people start knowing rather rapidly what they are, honey, believe it or not. And this is the debate that no one wants to have. It's not that your fucking 3-year-old should fucking be put on blockers. And it's not that, like, you shouldn't get anything ever. It's, at what point is this an okay thing to do, basically? And I think this whole fucking discussion has gotten sad, sick, and pathetic. The fucking medical professionals, quote unquote, now can't even be trusted. Um, that's just my opinion. I went and tried to get counseling for hormones and ran into people that didn't know what I was talking about that were actual mental health professionals, or doctors in a box that would just write a thing saying you could go get hormones. Those were my two options. So I ended up ordering stuff from Thailand. I still take stuff from Thailand because I'm a fucking pirate. Okay? Like, this is the thing is I like the lady boys in Thailand because they and I are cut from a similar fucking cloth, I guess. We gave it all up for fucking love. I think that's really what it is. Like, I would love to talk to some of those girls. I would bet they are more on the same page as Blair and I, versus these people in the United States that I meet that are trans that I don't know. Don't get me wrong, I have my own issues and whatever, but none of them have to do with me being trans that keep me from doing anything. Okay, most of them have to do with fucking violent shit that happened to me. As a result, I find it hard to function a little bit. I guess as a result of that, I see so many people that all they really need is hope and money. And the only reason they need money is because all this shit costs money. I don't know how you fix that, but I really think anymore, like, they have made it to a point where it's ridiculous that healthcare costs money. Or it's ridiculous that it costs what it does, I guess, more than anything. They've gotten the government so involved in it that, like, it's not just going and paying for the thing you need anymore. And honestly, that's why more and more, if I was going to have a major medical procedure done, I would not do it in the United States. I think we have the worst hospitals in the world now, and that's after COVID. We had mediocre hospitals, and the churn of COVID has basically made it to where none of the professional people still work there. I had a dislocated ankle during COVID, and I went to an emergency room in Tulsa and had to be wheeled in there in a wheelchair because I couldn't walk. And I was told that I had drug seeking behavior, and I was told to walk out of there and had to walk to the car on a dislocated ankle and go to a different hospital. That's the way they treat trans people in Oklahoma. So, that's the way I get treated, and I turned out okay. And I'm not saying that, like, that's all right. It's not all right. But at the same time, there's a lot of this shit that's going on right now that, like, We're gonna have the government step in and fucking control what you can say and what you can do and like why is it now that we have to have the government protect us from what people say? Oh no, someone might call us a tranny. Like, don't get me wrong, like the things that piss me off are like when a very close personal friend tells me that he thinks I'm hypnotized by the Illuminati and none of this is real. That hurts, okay? I don't really care what some asshole on the street thinks of me. I think most trans women need to develop a tougher skin. Like, I'm made of like sand and shell and bits of broken glass glued together on the end of a baseball bat or some shit. That's the kind of skin that you're going to have if you're going to do this. I have my weak moments and whatever, especially on Instagram. Like, I get fucking comments on Instagram anymore that are just hateful piss ants that are closeted homosexual gay men. So I don't know why I said it that way, but they're like these little like 17, 18-year-old guys that haven't even fucked anything yet and haven't figured out their own sexuality and are, you know, buying guns because they like to buy guns and they haven't figured out that they're buying guns to compensate for something yet, which they are. I've met them, I've talked to them. There's hours and hours and hours of me talking to them on Never Enough Ammo's podcast. Okay? Like, not that they're all like that. Most of those guys have actually had sex, whatever, but like that's the people that are shitting on me in the comments are those dudes, but now they're like 17 years old and there's no pussy. Sorry about that. I don't know what to do about that. That's not my problem. That's kind of, I think, why straight men don't like trans women unless they're hot for them and want to fuck them is, and even then, like for whatever reason, it seems like straight men don't like their sexual partners. Maybe that's just me. Like they look at women as lesser than and a bunch of other shit. And that's, honestly, I try not to even date quote unquote straight men anymore. If you identify as straight, I don't even talk to you or meet up with you or hang out with you. I don't know what you should identify as, but if you have a thing in your dating profile that says that you're straight but you like trans women or something to that effect, you're not worth my time. Okay? The people that I tend to like to date are like somewhat older than me, 40s maybe, 50s maybe, and know what they fucking like. And what they like is me. For whatever reason. I don't care why. I just like that they like me. And if that's not you, then fuck off. And I think that's part of the thing too, is like they don't like women with an attitude. They damn sure don't like trans women with an attitude because we're even lesser than regular women in some of their minds. We don't have vaginas and therefore can't make babies and aren't useful. Like that's the original term faggot is a troublesome bundle of sticks that's difficult to carry or some shit like that. It's like a burden. That's what they're calling you. That, in essence, is why I own a handgun. It's real hard to fucking call someone a faggot when you have a hole in your head. And like with what they're doing, like the thing that I see with what Blair White and Buck Angel are doing to circle back around is the left has created a situation where eventually there is going to be a swing back the other direction on trans rights, and they're going to outlaw this shit because of what the left is doing and like hurting people's kids. I'm pissed about that, and I'm trans. I literally don't have too many dogs in that fight, and if I did, it would be with the trans women, right? And I'm pissed for your kids. I'm pissed like an angry grandfather. Why aren't you? Thanks for watching. I hope someone got something out of this. You should really go watch Blair White. Her video on TikTok was fucking hilarious. It was a video on YouTube about TikTok. Thanks for watching.